The night my parents told me I was a mistake, it wasn't during a fight. It wasn't even loud. It was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that seeps into your bones and stays there forever. I was 17. It was Christmas Eve. Snow fell in thick, lazy flakes outside our little suburban house in Denver. The tree lights glowed warm and gold, wrapping everything in fake peace. And then my mother said it, her voice flat, like she was commenting on the weather. "We didn't plan for you, Emma. You just happened. Things were already difficult, and you made them harder." My father didn't argue. He didn't even look at me. He just took another sip of whiskey and said, "We tried our best." That night, I packed my backpack with a few clothes, my sketchbook, and the $84 I had from my part-time job at a diner. I didn't cry. I didn't say goodbye. I just walked out into the snow. For years, I worked whatever jobs I could find. Waitressing, cleaning offices, babysitting kids who had kinder parents than I ever did. I slept in cheap rooms, ate ramen, and drew when I could afford pencils. And slowly, I built something. Something mine. At 26, I had my own tiny apartment in Chicago. I worked as an illustrator for a small publishing company. I wasn't rich, but I was safe. Free. I thought I had buried the past. Until one evening, a message popped up on my phone. It was from my cousin, Ava. "Ava. Hey, you need to come home. Something happened. It's about your parents." I stared at the screen for a long time. 10 years. 10 years of silence, no calls. No birthday wishes. Nothing. And now suddenly, they needed me? When I arrived back in Denver, it felt like stepping into an old photograph, the kind where everyone's smiling, but the edges are torn and faded. Ava hugged me tight. "Emma, I'm so glad you came. Your dad, he's not well. Heart problems, and your mom can't handle the house alone." I froze. "And why exactly do they want me?" Ava bit her lip. "They didn't say that. But you're still their daughter." I almost laughed. Daughter. That word had never fit right. Still, something, call it curiosity or the ghost of guilt, made me go to the old house. When my mother opened the door, her eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. "Maybe she had, Emma," she breathed. "You came." The living room was the same. Beige walls, same brown couch, same smell of pine-scented cleaner and stale cigarettes. Only one thing was different. There were photos of my younger sister, Claire, everywhere. Her graduation, her engagement, her baby shower, not a single photo of me. "Where's Dad?" I asked. "In the bedroom," she said. "He's resting." When I stepped into the room, my father looked smaller than I remembered. Frail, pale, the oxygen tube whispering near his nose. He opened his eyes. "Emma?" "Yeah, it's me." His lips trembled. "You grew up?" 10 years will do that," I said coldly. He looked away. We made mistakes." "You called me a mistake," I said quietly. "There's a difference." For the next few weeks, I stayed in the house, partly to help, partly to understand why I was even there. Claire visited often. She was all smiles, the golden child, perfect hair, expensive perfume. She hugged me with the same warmth as someone petting a stray dog. "I didn't think you'd actually come," she said. "Neither did I replied. She laughed. "Well, I hope you're not expecting anything. The house is being transferred to me soon. Mom and Dad already sorted it out. You know, in case anything happens." I froze. "Transferred?" "Yeah," she said sweetly. "It's only fair. I'm here all the time. You left." Something inside me cracked. I wasn't here for the house. But hearing her say that word left, like I'd chosen to abandon them, it burned. That night I went to the attic to get some old blankets. I hadn't been up there since I was a kid. The smell of dust and forgotten things hit me hard, and then I saw it. A box labeled Emma. My heart stopped. Inside were things I hadn't seen in years. Old drawings, school awards, photos. But beneath them was a stack of papers, financial documents, letters, and one folder that made my stomach twist. It was a will draft, dated just a year after I'd left. It said, In the event of our passing, all property and assets shall go to our daughter, Claire. Emma is to be excluded due to estrangement and lack of contribution to the family. Lack of contribution. I clenched the paper in my fist until it crumpled. That's when I realized. This wasn't about forgiveness. They didn't want me back. They wanted a caretaker, someone to clean up, cook, and be invisible again. But not this time. The next morning, Claire waltzed in with coffee. "Hey, you don't mind watching Dad today? I've got a spa appointment." I smiled. "Sure," I said softly. "You enjoy yourself." When she left, I sat by my father's bed and looked at him. The man who had let my mother call me a mistake and said nothing. He opened his eyes weakly. "Emma, thank you for helping." "Of course," I said. "It's the least a mistake can do." He looked confused. I smiled. That night I began planning my revenge. For 3 nights, I barely slept. The sound of the oxygen machine in Dad's room was steady, rhythmic, like a ticking clock counting down to something inevitable. I didn't want to hurt them, not physically, but I wanted them to feel, to finally understand what it was like to be invisible, to be unwanted, to be nothing. So I started small. The first thing I did was move their family photos. Every picture of Claire, smiling, perfect Claire, I took down. In their place, I hung my old drawings from childhood, crayon sketches of a house, a family, a girl standing apart from everyone else. When my mother noticed, she frowned. "Emma, what happened to Claire's pictures?" I shrugged, just trying to make this place feel more balanced. Her lips tightened. "That's unnecessary." "Maybe," I said, "but it feels right." The second thing I did was clean the attic, but I didn't throw anything away. I rearranged everything. Old letters, documents, receipts, all labeled neatly so that anyone who came up would see what they'd done. Hidden in those boxes were years of hypocrisy. Unpaid taxes, letters from collection agencies, proof that Dad had borrowed money from my college fund to pay for Claire's wedding. I didn't even need to expose them myself. I knew life would do that for me. Then came the day of the family dinner. Claire arrived in a sparkling dress, carrying her baby, while her husband, all smiles and arrogance, shook Dad's frail hand. "Still holding up, Mr. Collins?" he said cheerfully. My mom looked radiant. The perfect host, as always. I stayed quiet, cleaning dishes, invisible as usual, until Claire smirked and said, "So, Emma, still living that starving artist life? Mom told me you're not married yet." I smiled faintly. "Yeah, I guess I'm too busy working for my own life to marry someone rich." Her eyes flashed. "You always sound so bitter." I leaned closer. "And you always sound so rehearsed." The room went silent. My mother glared at me. "Emma, that's enough." I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel small. "No, Mom," I said. "It's not enough. It's never been enough, has it? You got your perfect daughter. You got your picture-perfect life. And you threw me away like I was nothing." Dad tried to speak. "Emma," I turned to him. "You watched it happen. You let her say I was a mistake. Do you even know what that does to a child?" Mom stood, her voice sharp. "We did what we had to. You were difficult, emotional, ungrateful." "Ungrateful?" I laughed bitterly. "You locked me out of my own life and then blamed me for the cold." Claire shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe we should—" "No," I said, cutting her off. "You should hear this too, little sister. You took everything that was supposed to be mine. My room, my college fund, my parents' love. But you know what? You can keep it. Because it's poisoned." Tears welled in my mother's eyes. "You don't understand, Emma. We struggled. We made mistakes." I stepped closer. "You didn't make mistakes. You made choices, and I paid for them." Then I took out the folder I'd found in the attic, the will draft, and placed it on the table. "Here's what you thought of me," I said quietly, "just in case you forgot." My mom's hands trembled as she opened it. Her face turned white. "Emma, where did you—" "Doesn't matter," I said, "but you'll want to update it, because I won't be here when you need someone to feed Dad or clean your house or remind you to take your pills." I turned toward the door. As I reached for my coat, Dad's voice croaked behind me. "Emma." "Wait." I stopped. He looked at me, tears streaming down his face. "You're right. I failed you. I was a coward. I let your mother decide everything. I thought staying silent would keep peace, but it only destroyed it." He coughed weakly. "You were never a mistake. You were the best thing that ever happened to us. We just didn't deserve you." For a second, just a second, I wanted to believe him, but it was too late. I walked out the front door and didn't look back. A few months later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from Ava. "Emma, your father passed away last week. He asked for you. He wanted to apologize." I sat in my Chicago apartment, the city lights glowing beyond the window. I didn't cry. I couldn't. But I took out my sketchbook and drew. Not him, not them, but me. Standing tall, alone, free. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a mistake. 2 years later, Emma Collins became a full-time illustrator. One of her pieces, titled "The Girl Who Came Home," was featured in a national gallery. It showed a young woman walking away from a house burning softly in the background. When reporters asked her what it meant, she simply said, "It's about letting go. Some homes aren't meant to be lived in. They're meant to be left behind." And somewhere, deep in the silence of her past, the echoes of mistake finally disappeared.